Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar on how to depreciate and return with CrossLink Online. I'm just going to start off with a nice intro to CrossLink Online. If we have any new listeners that haven't attended our basic CrossLink Online introduction webinar, and then I'll get into doing a depreciation return. So just to access CrossLink Online, you just type it in your address bar, crosslinkonline.com, and you would have received an activation email. And just to quickly touch on that, you would activate the link that's in that email, and you would be creating a password, going through verification, whether it's using a Google Authenticator app or email. And then you'll be prompted to log in and view your dashboard and go through office setup and everything like that. So I'm just going to mimic a brief overview of that process by logging into my office. And this is that verification step. You don't have to verify every single time you log in, especially if you label your device, which I'll get to. Verifying is important because we want to make sure we're following all security measures with this new online product, and you're protecting yourself and your clients. So I'm going to choose enter code from app, which means I have the Google Authenticator application on my phone. It works for Android and Apple. And I just open up the app, and there's a code generating for my login. And you can have multiple codes if you have a few different logins or usernames. It's okay to have more than one code at the same time. So I'm just going to hit continue, and I'm going to type in the code that's generated on the app. Now, if you chose the email option, you would just be getting an email with a confirmation key, and you will copy and paste that into this field as well. And here's what I mentioned, friendly label. So I can call this workstation, and I can hit continue. If you notice there's mark as public will actually make it open. So where it's not saving your device, you will have to verify yourself again if it logs you out. So that's the difference. If you label your device, you'll be prompted to just bypass that section when it times out, and this way you're not always verifying every time. So it's a nice hint if you're not using that and you're getting logged out throughout the day, just go ahead and label your device in there and you can do so. So when you land in CrossLink Online, you have what's called your overview or dashboard page. And this is where you can manage your business, very similar to the work in progress page on our 1040 product. You have what's called widgets. These are the new reporting styles, very modern, that we're going with. And it's telling you different stages of a tax return and the tax return submitted queue. And when you start filing and getting queued or pending, rejected, you're actually going to be able to click on each of these categories and drill down into those returns. Same thing here with my collected fees for this office. It's going to keep that total going as you're collecting your prep fees. And then notifications, just to touch on that, that's actually coming from a new feature within CrossLink Online. It's called Secure Messages. And if you take a look on the left-hand side of our slide navigation menu, this is Secure Messages here. And that's an internal communication tool between you and your preparers where you can send them a message quickly, easily, no longer having to go through phone or email or text message. Send it throughout the platform, and they'll get notified here in their notification widget or in their secure messages right here. And anytime to go back to your home page, you can click on Dashboard. And if you don't click on Dashboard, you can click on Overview. So just to just go briefly, lay of the land here. This is always your active window. This is maybe the form you're currently working on or what you're seeing at that moment. And on the left-hand side, this is called a side navigation bar where you can access your calendar to make appointments. I just touched on secure messages. Checks, if you're with one of our banks that print through the software, you can print your checks right here. And a little tip, that's only available at the office and or preparer level if they have that access level. Refund calculator is brand new this season for both online and 1040. This is starting a tax estimate within the software using interview mode. So it's a nice new feature. And then you can convert it to a tax return with entering the social. So take a look at that. And then you have your reporting of building extended reports as well down here. So just to touch on the top, we have preparers and tax returns. Preparers takes you through knowing all the preparers you have within that office. And when you click on view on a preparer, you can actually dive into their account and see what's going on with their tax returns that that preparer is solely working on. So if they ever need help, you can view into their account and then access the tax return in read-only mode and help them out. You also you keep track of the layers you're in by your breadcrumbs right here on the left on top left corner. I have the prepare I'm in, and then I can click exit to my dashboard to go back to my office overview. Now, just to quickly note, anytime you need to go into office setup, capture your ERO signature, or if you're a preparer, this is called your profile menu. And this is where you can access all the tools you need within CrossLink Online, such as the mobile app ID for TaxPass, switch between your prior years, office setup, and your login preferences. And that's if you want to start a tax return in interview mode as default, on-screen signature. So those are your preferences by user, and you can find them there in your profile menu. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the tax return. So I'm going to go into my preparer account. Now I'm going to dive into Priscilla. So with that, these are my commonly used tax returns that I've done, pretty much with all the webinars I've done lately. So I'm going to continue one, and we're going to build upon it. So I'm going to click on Bobby Ray. Now I'm going to hit open. And if I wanted to start a tax return, you can always just click on the tax returns tab here, and it would show you new tax return right here, just like you would enter it within the social. So I'll hit on cancel, and I want to go ahead and go back into Bobby Ray. And this is a nice overview page because I've already started this tax return. So these are different shortcuts into each of your tools here or the federal forms, and you can click on them and it will bring you right to that area you want to go to. So that's a nice new feature of a summary page that we rolled out this year. And as you see, I can actually jump into my depreciation asset table, but I'm just going to do a nice overview of the process of doing a tax return. Okay. So when you ever start a tax return, you're on the client data screen, and that's where you gather your taxpayers' information, their dependents, and their spouse. So you're going to fill out all the required fields here, and they will be highlighted in red. And you're going to work through the client data with filling out their address, their occupation, their filing status. And just remember, when you click on a field, this little window, or not a window, but a highlight that you need to fill in. So you can go ahead and see what numeric value represents the filing status. As well as here you have your address information, if you want to keep record of their bank account information, client referral, and then the healthcare question. That's just a simple yes or no there. And if you're going to enter in any dependents, you can go ahead and do so, just filling out the table here, and that will populate any EIC forms or any extra health child care forms you need to fill out as well. So once you take care of the client data screen, your next step is to add your primary forms, such as your W-2. So you can click on Add Form, and it's going to open up this pop-up window here. And your federal tab is going to show you all your federal forms, and you can search it by schedule or form of the name. Just like if I'm going to enter Schedule C in a few moments, I put in C and it's already showing me my different schedules. If I click on the index tab, I can search by now like a word, like a keyword search. So if I want to add a child form, I can type in child, for example, and it's going to start highlighting the forms for me. And then we have states, and this is when the states start getting released, you'll be able to select the state forms from here as well. And then we'll be spending a lot of time here within our depreciation asset table and how to build those assets for your different schedules. So let's take a look at that W-2 just in case if anybody hasn't seen it yet. It's very similar to the paper form of a W-2. You're going to fill in those values. And anytime you see these three little dots appear, go ahead and click on them. You can go to choices, and if you're familiar with our desktop program, you can view choices by actually looking at the bottom of the screen. And that's preloaded data that we have entered or the program has saved from your keystrokes. So you can always click on choices or Alt C on the keyboard, and they will appear for you. For example, I only have one EIN number in here, and I can apply that one. And then you fill in everything as needed. And now our next step to continue with the depreciation table is you always want to add your schedules first. So I'm going to go ahead, add forms, and I'm going to add my secondary forms of a Schedule C. So I'll type in ski C, I'll click add, and I'm going to name my activity. And say we're going to do a landscaping business. And a nice tip is you can use business codes, and if you click Alt C, you're going to see all the different codes in here, and that could be a lot to go through. So a nice tip is actually go to the second box, and I can start typing like landscaping service, and it comes up, and then it will actually populate that business code for me. So if you don't want to scroll through that big menu, try doing some keyword searching in that field, and it might come up. And you could put a landscaping business name in here. I'll just leave it as landscaping for right now. And then I'm actually going to go ahead and add a second schedule so you can see how you can split a vehicle depreciation. So I'm going to hit add form. And our second schedule, see, let's say would be um, a cupcake business. Well, bakery business. So now I have added my two schedules. And the way you want to add those schedules, because if I didn't and I had clicked on the depreciation table here, you wouldn't see them here. There would be nothing to add the asset to. So always remember to add your schedules first and then come into the depreciation log and continue building your assets. So to do so, I clicked on depreciation right here on our general of the attached forms list. But like I said, you can also access it when you hit add form and you click on depreciation. So we have multiple ways of getting to there. So I'm going to start, I highlight the Schedule C for landscaping, and I'm going to click on Add Asset. And I'm going to just put in a computer because we need to make sure we can keep our clientele logged within our computer. So I say I bought a computer. So that would be this code here, number 2, computers equipment. Now hit Add. And it's very simple. All I have to do is put how much that computer costs. And I can say for a good computer, let's say it costs $1,200. And then it automatically populates on a state. And if you needed to change a date placed in service, you can go ahead and do so. So and then all I'm going to do is hit close. And this is bonus, well, special depreciation. So if you wanted to apply any of these, you can go ahead and do so, or you could just click OK. And then I'll hit close one more time. And now you see within the asset table that right here. And if I take a look at that Schedule C of landscaping, and I scroll down, line 13, depreciation, you will see the amount there. So the depreciation asset table automatically flows onto the schedule, which is really nice. You don't have to do any duplicate work. So we're going to go through that process one more time. So I'm going to click on depreciation. I'm going to open up, click add new asset. Now we will do one for the cupcake business. I'll hit add. And now I'm going to say we bought an oven because we need to bake those cupcakes. And that's going to fall under we'll probably put that under equipment. I'm just quickly going through it. Yeah, let's go with equipment. We're gonna hit add. And then I will put how much an oven cost. And we got a nice double oven in there so we could bake multiple cupcakes. And I just put that in. Not going to change that date, place, and service, but you can do so if you ever need to. And then you're going to hit close and just take a note here at the bottom. We have bonus depreciation, delete asset. So if you accidentally um, add an asset to the wrong schedule, you can actually reassign it, which I'll show in a few minutes, but you can delete the asset if you don't need it at all. Don't hit the close button because it's still going to add it to your table. You want to hit delete asset. Sale, um, causality, and out of service. So those are your different buttons if you needed to add more to this asset, but this is just going over the basics. So I can go ahead and I just put the amount, I hit close, I'm going to go through the special depreciation, hit OK. And then I'll hit close one more time. And now I can look under my cupcake business and I see I have that value there. And then I can go to that schedule C. I put in and add a business code for that one. Let's see if we have one. Bakery. Have that one for right now. And if I scroll down to line 13, there you go, the depreciation of the oven. So now that we've added two depreciations, let's show how we do a vehicle. So again, I'm going to go back to that depreciation table. Now I'm going to click on the car and truck. I'm going to hit add asset. Now I'm going to put in a vehicle. And let's say we bought an F-150. And it's a gas powered vehicle. So I click that and I hit add. And now I'll put how much that car rents about. So I'll put 20,000. Automatically added to the state. Now with the vehicle, you have a few more steps. You have some questions you have to answer here. So you have to go through these yes/no questions. And the first one was the vehicle available for personal use? And I'll mark an X. Yes. Vehicle used more than 5% of the owner? Yes. Is another vehicle used for personal use? And I'll put yes. Do you own this vehicle? Yes. Now the last two, force actual expense and force standard mileage rate. So if I actually choose force actual expense, and then I would have to mark force standard mileage rate no. And what that's going to do is that it's going to put the depreciation based off of the expenses you put in on the next screen here where it says mileage and expenses. If I do vice versa, I mark no for actual expenses and yes for standard mileage rate, it's going to only apply depreciation for the standard mileage rate. So it's totally up to you and how you think is best for your clients. But a nice tip is if you actually choose no for both questions, the program is automatically going to apply the depreciation that's best for the client. So you can answer no to both those questions. And then we're going to go to mileage and expenses. So here is where you're going to put in your mileage. So you could do total vehicle mileage, and let's say we put 10,000. And then total commute mileage, we can say 2,000. And then here you see we have our two schedules under the activity name, landscaping and cupcake. And I could put the mileage I've used for both businesses there. And just keep in mind that you do have your mileages does have to equal the math of the 10,000 minus the 2,000, so you can't exceed the 8,000. So I'm just going to keep our numbers simple, and I'm going to say I use 2,500 miles here, and I'll just put 500 miles for the cupcake business. And then below you'll have your expenses. So gas and oil repairs, you could say 300. Parking fees and tolls, 200, and you could fill in everything else if needed. But your last two questions, do you have evidence to support your deduction? If yes, if this is evidence written. So these are just some due diligence. So you're going to want to mark that you saw the evidence of the mileage and the expenses. So you just mark them, and then you're going to go back to general. and then you hit close. Remember, if you want, and now you go to car and truck, and you'll see that there. So now if I take a look at the Schedule C of landscaping, and I go down, you see line number 9, car and truck expenses. That's there. And then I Schedule C for my cupcake business. Same thing on line number 9. So it's automatically add that doing your assets due to depreciation table, as you saw, is very easy, and it's automatically being applied to the schedules. And I just like to highlight on the bottom, if you have any other descriptions you wanted to list, you can do that right here. And you may want to take into consideration part 4 here. Check this box if you wish to carry vehicle mileage entered to this section from basically your depreciation table. And so you don't have to fill out the rest of these line items. So you can go ahead and mark that. And as you see, it flowed in the data. So you don't have to worry about going through those line items and save yourself some time. So go ahead and mark that for the landscaping business as well. Okay. And just to go quick overview, that may have been fast, but I'll just show again how I'm going to go through an asset, just a nice overview. So what we did first was when you start a tax return, you go through your client data screen here and you fill in your taxpayers information. Then you're going to add their primary forms and you're going to hit add form. You add the W-2, maybe the spouse's W-2, and you're going to go through those forms. And then it's time to add your secondary forms, which is your Schedule C, Schedule E, all those different schedules that they may have. And you go ahead and go through, and you can just go through here and apply them. And just remember to add the schedules before you start depreciating or adding any assets. Once you label your schedules, because it's nice to label them, so this way when you're looking on your attached forms list, you can see which one you're working with. You're going to click on depreciation, and it opens up your depreciation table. And all you have to do is hit add new asset and go through those very easy steps. So you can see here a nice overview that we have. And just to highlight, as you're answering that due diligence questions and you're checking their receipts for all these things they may be depreciating, you can be adding all those items into the document archive right here located on the under general. And that's the folder for each of your taxpayers. And all you have to do is upload the documents, either if you have a flatbed scanner or if you have one of the 2D barcode scanners and you're taking images of those documents. Just hit add new documents and you'll be able to scan or browse. And that's a nice folder, so this way you're not having a lot of papers at your desk or filing cabinets. Start becoming paperless and utilizing this nice document archive that stores the documents for you. And then lastly, to finish up, once you finish your schedules and everything else, now it's time for you to verify, print, sign, and transmit. And to do so, you're going to want to go through verify. You're going to hit verify here. And you're going to go ahead and go through all the errors that you have. And once you do so, you're going to be able to hit on print final document and your bank documents and gather your e-signatures. So I'm going to actually switch into a completed return. And just to do so, I can show you all the final steps without having to go through all the errors. So with that, we'll go ahead and I'll just talk through them because it looks like I don't have a finalized return ready. But no worries. So like I said, once you verify, you close everything out. You're going to be prompted to print the tax return right here in the print menu, print final tax return. And that's when you'll be able to send a remote signature, which is a text message or email to your client so they can sign the documents and they will be able to send it back to you signed. And then you'll be able to transmit. So you'll click on transmit tax return and that would be sending off to the IRS once filing opens up. So with that, I'll gladly turn it back over to Justin if we have any questions to go through.
Thank you very much, Priscilla. That was a great presentation there. All right, jumping into the questions, we have one request to see the billing in CrossLink Online. I know today's webinar was on depreciation, but Priscilla, I mean, time, can you
Definitely.
show what the billing looks like?
Yep. So to do a billing setup is you would go into your profile menu and you would click on setup and then you would click on billing. To just um, add your prep fees in here, like I have here, I went into click on form billing, add form, and then you put your prices under the per item column for each form that you would like to bill on. Once you do that, you'll hit add, and then you'll hit save at the bottom. Now, if I go into a tax return, I'll show you an invoice how that looks. So if I click on invoice, here I can apply my default billing, and you'll see a billing schedule if you created one right here, billing schedule name. And if you don't think it's properly adding the forms or the prices, to you, all you have to do is go to your little menu icon here on where it says save billing and go reload billing. And it will kind of do a nice refresh, and you can see now it populated $110. And that's for my itemized billing. Right here you can see for my 1040 I have $100 and for a W-2 $10. So that is how your billing scheme populates from office setup. Now, if you're just a person or you run your business just entering your prep fees on an invoice, you can do just what I did here. Line 7, you have 8, 9, and 10, and I put prep fee of $200. And then I could run my business that way of just putting it on each invoice. So that's how you will go ahead and collect your prep fees and manage your billing within the tax return.
And then for payments, how do you pick how they would pay their invoice, basically?
Okay. So there's two ways basically. On your 8879, that's how you have to determine how you're filing. And if you're choosing options from one or two, which here states check from IRS or direct deposit from IRS, then you have to make sure you collect your prep fees. And you'll get this warning message, 1. And it's telling you must collect your preparation fee directly from the taxpayer, and the IRS will distribute the refund directly to the taxpayer. So you can go ahead, hit OK, and you have to collect your payment. Now, we don't take like actual, hard payments through the software, but you can keep track of your payments by clicking on the payments tab here, and you can actually input that they paid you whether cash, check, or I could put check here and the amount. I think this return was like 310. I could put a memo here and all that, and I could save. And then that's the way you can track your payments through the software. And if you're doing a bank product, you would actually be applying a number 5 within this field. And once you do so, it's going to load your eFin and it should automatically add your bank application as long as you've set everything up correctly on our web portal at crosslinktax.com. It should flow through CrossLink Online, and you can now go to the bank application, put in your prep fees there, and you will see how to collect the payment that way. So those are the two ways you can collect your payments, either directly from the taxpayer or using an RT.
Great. Thank you very much for showing all that. Would you be able to possibly show how to put a client on hold when
Yeah,
they're waiting
definitely.
for a document?
Okay. So the best way to do that is using maybe user status codes, and that can be applied here on the client data screen. It's actually your first field on the left hand side. So you can create, I believe, your own statuses within CrossLink Online through our database setup. And you can create different statuses like review or hold for a document, waiting for W-2, such on. So you can actually, when you apply those, you can see, and I don't have any listed out, but you can choose them here and apply it. And then that way you can run a report on, those different statuses you have. So that's one way of putting a tax return on hold. Another hard way that won't stop you from transmitting is actually if you click on any field on the three dots, you can add a bookmark and you can say need documents, and that is actually going to save the bookmark on the tax return, and you won't be allowed to file or transmit the tax return because it will come up here um, within your rejects and verification. So you can go ahead and do that as another way of putting a tax return on hold.
Great. Well, I think that does it for the question portion for today's presentation. So we'll go ahead and get things wrapped up here. I'd like to take this moment once again to thank Priscilla for that wonderful presentation of our all new CrossLink online software and how to depreciate in it. And then also on behalf of everybody here at CrossLink, thank you for taking the time to join us today for this presentation. Again, I know this is pretty much the busiest time of year. You're getting your offices set up. You have people starting to come in for their tax returns to be prepared. So again, thank you for taking the time today to join us and learn a little bit more on how to depreciate in CrossLink Online. So on behalf of everybody here at CrossLink, I'd like to wish everybody a very happy, successful 2020 tax season. Thanks, everyone.